I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. All members are in attendance except Cassie Peterson is not able to be with us tonight. Otherwise, everyone else is here. Welcome, Don. Are there any comments from visitors? I didn't grab the board.
Jennifer.
Okay. Jennifer Cummings?
Hi, Jennifer Cummings, Aiken District resident. I am here because I have had several district residents contact me about something concerning they had been hearing. Upon following up myself, I found the item in the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting summary. Under other, it says discussion on potential of condemning the school, meaning Rippleside. Dan will look into this idea with ICS and MDE. Is this something that is seriously being considered? If so, have you or how will you inform the public of this plan? I don't see it on the agenda this evening. What do ICS and the Minnesota Department of Education have to do with determining whether a building can be condemned? People are very concerned about this. I don't understand why this board seems to not be listening to the voters of the district. The majority said no to the plan to build a new elementary school multiple times now. Many people have asked to know what it would cost to fix what needs to be fixed and updated at Rippleside, and only vague answers are being received, which seems to indicate it's not being seriously considered. You work for the people of this district, and we deserve to be listened to, and for you to respect the will of the voters, not start looking for a way around a result that you don't like, which is what looking into condemning Rippleside seems like and feels like. I have done a data request for how the money received from the levy passed in 2021 has been spent, and I did receive a summary. And even though I have not received detailed information yet, I can see from what I have received that of the roughly 2.7 million received so far, only 10% has been spent on buildings. 10%. 70% has been spent on technology, which is the heading, the only information I have. And it's impossible to tell from the information I was provided what that means. I have been told that this usually means salaries, but I would like this information confirmed. Situations like this are sadly why many residents of this district do not trust this administration or the board. It really does feel like you are trying to do things like potentially condemn Rippleside without informing the public of your plans and asking for our input. I asked several questions here in my comment, and I look forward to getting answers to those questions. Thank you.
Next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Holly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Don. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. Okay, any student council reports tonight?
Does not look like we have any student council in the audience.
I hope they're enjoying the evening.
Yeah.
Okay, review of the Dean Activities Director year in combined position, Mr. Henriksen. Welcome.
Well, hello, everyone. And what a year it's been for me. I just want to go over a few things tonight. I feel like I have honestly given this district everything I've had this year. Like it's been a year. So a couple of things that I just wanted to go over. I wanted to kind of thank a couple people like the teachers and stuff. And I want to thank like my least favorite teacher of all time, Miss Conlon, taught me to give a speech with bullet points, never to read because that's called a letter, right? So when I was getting this prepared, I can just see Miss Conlon. I feared her, but she taught me so many lessons. I did my first speech, just had knee surgery, and I couldn't stand still, and I went to her and said, I don't think I can do it, and she told me, I don't care, figure it out. Lesson learned. I figured it out, you know? And then some coaches. You know, I don't know that you guys know much about me, but I was fortunate enough to play at the high school level, the college level, and then I was even at the professional level. So I've had some really good coaches in my life, and I've had some coaches that weren't great. But I learned lessons from all of them. Some great, some not great. But I have had a lot of lifelong lessons, you know, and I had coaches that I complained about to my dad. I remember complaining to my dad about one coach saying I should be playing. He told me, don't you ever work harder. I worked harder, I eventually started. So those kind of things. So just a couple of the things that I've learned this year, and with the activities recap, the number one thing that I think I've learned this way is the number one way to get judged in life is to step in and help. I have been questioned in ways that I never imagined I'd be questioned this year. I mean, I get letters and emails and concerned things like, how come he did it that way? He never did that for me. He could have done it differently. I wouldn't have done it like that. So everything kind of has been up in the air, but a lot of good things have happened this year. We've had no major injuries. Like nothing super major for any of our kids this year. Football went to the section finals. 4 wrestlers went to the state tournament. Boys basketball set a record with 20 wins this year. 5 FFA members qualified for state. We placed 2nd and 3rd in the state for Knowledge Bowl this year. Economics team placed at state. We actually were able to play 2 sporting events in front of the school this year, a girls' basketball game and a boys' baseball game, which the kids really loved. We were able to perform the musical for Rippleside and AHS students in front. 5 students have signed a letter of intent to play at the next level. Maddie Bergstaller is going to go to Alexandria, play softball. Brandon Coons is playing football at Bemidji State. Isaiah Baker's running track at University of Wisconsin, River Falls. Isaacs Osmus is playing basketball at University of Wisconsin Superior. Sienna Mells is playing softball at Crown College. So really, we've had a really good year with those things. We've added Athlete of the Month and Activities of the Month this year, which kids have really enjoyed this year. That's all sponsored by the Quarterback Club. All of our fundraisers for Jake Mayer this year have been tremendous with all the community things that have happened. And I really want to thank all of our coaches for all the time that they put in. From the dean side, which has been really good, is our referrals were down 21.5% this year compared to last year. We had the 7th and 8th grade field trips coming up. And then we really do have a lot of really good kids. And then just lastly, I feel like I need to say a couple things because if I don't get them off my chest, but I just want to start this by saying, just because us or any of us don't agree doesn't make one of us wrong. There's a lot of thought that goes into decisions, all of those kind of things that happen. I came to Aiken. I was happy in the place. I came to Aiken. My family's been here since 1920. So, you know, I came here for a reason. My dad on his dying bed said his biggest mistake was leaving Aiken. So that was one of the reasons I came back. But this year has been really tough. When I took this job, I promised that I'd never forget who I was. And being in a job like this, and in education, I've been able to go to weddings, birth of babies. I visited people in jail. I went to funerals, and I still have lots of relationships today. The part that I think that we forget a lot of times is in this position, us as educators, there's a lot of kids that we really worry about. There's 2 to 3 that I look for every morning to make sure they're here. I mean, and those are the things I think a lot of us forget about in this stuff. you know, when you put in 12 to 18 hour days and you sleep on couches and stuff like that, it's hard to take a lot of the personal attacks. Some of these personal attacks have went way too far. Way too far. And it just hasn't been fun. You know, when we have teachers here and administration that spends thousands and thousands of dollars on kids to make sure they have the things that they have, you know, we get personally attacked about different things, but when the day we thought we had the shooting, which would have been 2 years ago, you know, what nobody talks about is the administration was out in the hallways when we thought we had a shooter outside protecting kids. That's what we did. We went right out to protect kids. And I think that's the things that we forget. You know, it's just been rough. This year we've watched lots of friendships end over decisions that we've made. I've heard everything this year from when we win, it's because we're in a weak conference. When we lose, it's because the coach is horrible. So I just would like to take a chance to tell people that I would encourage those to get involved for the right reasons. Get involved, have conversations, and come talk about the decisions that we make, because a lot of time goes into those decisions, and I personally don't take those decisions lightly. I'm here for kids. I've proven I'm here for kids, and that's why I'm here. So lastly, I just want to end again, I want people to understand, just because we disagree doesn't make one of us wrong. We all have our opinions, and we're going to do what we feel is best for kids. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And I just want to comment too, I know that when we asked you to serve in both roles, that was sort of an impossible feat, and we knew that there wasn't going to be enough time in the day, right, for you to do that, and I think that you have really given it your all, and I think you're probably one of the first people here in the morning and one of the last people here, you know, to leave at night, and your efforts do not go unnoticed. I think that the Personnel Committee would like to hear any feedback that you might have about how we can make it manageable. I know that, you know, it was a time of budget reductions, and we had a position when, you know, when Mr. Klein resigned because he got the position in McGregor, right? And so we were kind of sort of in a scramble on what are we going to be able to do to fill it, and you really stepped up graciously and honorably and said, what can I do to help, just like you always do. So I know that we as a board really appreciate the work that you have given, and we too recognize that it's a thankless job, right? And it has been a hard year. And we do see that, and we recognize it. And I too wish that people would start from a place of positive instead of from a place of criticism. It's
hard when you start questioning yourself and let it ruin some of your own relationships, because you just sit there and question yourself the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think we've learned a lot this year. I think that Alan and I have become a tremendous team. I think moving forward, like, there's a lot of things, we're changing some things, we've learned a lot of things, so things are much easier now than what they were. You know, we were both brand new into everything. So, but I'd love to sit and talk with the Personnel Committee. Do I think it could be manageable now? I do. I just think there's probably a couple things we need to look at, because the hours are endless no matter, I mean, this spring has, I don't think we've had a day where we haven't changed something, and what people don't realize is now you got to change umpires, you got to change buses, you got to change.
I was just going to say, once you get the schedule figured out and then you added Mother Nature in the spring, and it's like,
When we had the most cancellations, they said, in probably 25 years in the winter this year because of weather. We had 3 cancellations before Christmas this year.
yeah.
So
we do thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Before you leave from the hot seat, I too want to say thank you. And I do want to draw attention to the fact that the job is a very difficult job. It is a job that requires you to build relationship with students, and it's not always easy to do that. I know from personal experience, there have been some incidents this spring that have been difficult to deal with. And I stood back watching from the sidelines as to how those things were being handled. And I appreciate the effort that you have put in, and I think you're doing a tremendously good job. And I just, thank you just isn't enough. And to be able, I dare anybody to try to step in your shoes and try to do the job without the criticisms, without all the stuff that you deal with on a daily basis. Most people can't even conjure up in their mind. And so
I think we forget sometimes it's high school, and you know, it's hard. I mean, I'm a pretty honest guy. I wear my emotions on my shoulder. Like, I mean, now I'm going to events and standing in the back because I can't go anywhere without something. Yeah. I mean, I do it for the right reasons. There's nothing more than I love than sports and kids. I mean, that's why I do it. But yeah, it's been a wild year, but I think it's not just me. I think it's teachers have been attacked. I think Dan has been attacked unfairly, a lot of different things. So I'm just not one that can sit back and continually take it and take it and take it and take it without saying something at some point.
well, I don't think that you are unlike any of the rest of us. And it has been a brutal, probably 8-10 years in education. And it's an unfortunate situation because educators are leaving the profession, and young people who have been considering coming into the profession are now choosing to do otherwise. And so it's part of it is the climate and the permission structure that's been given to people to be rude and disrespectful and spew hatred, and there's no need for it. And I do agree with you. Sometimes we can just agree to disagree. We don't have to become mortal enemies over something.
And there are so many great things here.
There are.
Our kids are great. There are so many great things. I mean, there truly is.
Jim, I just want you to know that I don't envy your position at all, because I can echo a lot of the things that you've said. Being on this board for the last 4 years has caused such extreme stress mentally and have physical ramifications in me, and I'm not even on the forefront of it every day like you are. It is so easy for people to judge decisions that they weren't part of when they really have no idea of what goes on behind the scenes. And I'm sorry that you have been on the end of that, because you, like you said, wear your emotions on your sleeve. You're not the type of person that just brushes it off and wakes up the next day with a clean slate. Like, you are empathetic, you are caring, and I just want you to know that my kids love you. Maharlika really wants to make sure that you know she actually loves steak. And whenever people talk about you, they do so kindly with good memories of you. So you do give it all, and people see that. I see that, my kids see that, your colleagues see that. So
I appreciate it.
thank you isn't enough, but please know that we deeply appreciate you.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate your efforts you go through to try and make things right. And we all know sometimes it's so hard. You can't hardly, you're never going to please everybody in some jobs, and you're never going to make everybody happy.
And let's all be honest, in children's sports, you're never going to make everybody happy, so you have no chance in making everyone happy.
And you're going through great efforts to do the best job you can, and it's greatly appreciated. So keep up the great work.
Yeah, that's one thing you see when you're dealing with sports, kids and things like that, you'll always have emotions. You always have parents' emotions, kids' emotions, community, people within the community. It's always going to be a part of that. And, you know, does it ever become easier? I have no idea. I mean, yeah, it does, because you kind of get hardened to it at some point. You don't want to, you don't want to be hardened to a point of not having an emotional way of looking at things, you know, because, yeah, I mean, I've been told I've been that, and that's just me, you know, that's the way it is. But and things like that, and so it is tough in a small town. It's the hardest place to do it in a small town because we're all relatives, man. I mean, we're all related. We're all part of the community. We all live here. We play here. We enjoy here. We do everything here. We fight here. We do all that.
I just think people lose the vision of coaches do it for the right reasons. 99.9% of the time, in the hours and the amount of money you spend, Cindy, you have a husband that does it in the longest season sport in the world.
It's like 13 cents an hour by the time you
If that. It's just, I just think we become thankless a lot of times, but
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to take any more of your time, but I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, you made 100% of the board happy tonight.
Okay, old business, approve the policy, second readings on wellness.
Yep. We didn't have any changes or additions to it from the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the wellness policy 533.
Motion by Holly to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jen. All those or any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes. Next, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Dawn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Holly, any discussion?
Just a couple of things. We have 2 resignations in there. One is Julie Nolan, payroll. She's looking to step into a less stressful role. So she's resigning the end of June, willing to stay on. We got the position posted, willing to stay and help. Hopefully we can get somebody hired that she can help. There's so many things that go into payroll that in the schools are just a little bit different than probably anywhere else. So Julie's done a nice job. I think she's been here 6 years in that role, 5 years in that role. She came shortly after I did.
She does do a nice job, and it is really a difficult job. I know, I think your office has called twice in the last month, having received like phishing emails with my name attached, you know, asking for data that clearly would be horribly destructive, right? And so not only are they just trying to do their regular jobs, but they're constantly under attack from, you know, scammers and
It's nice that she'll still be in the building too, so if the new person has some questions, she could.
Yeah, there's
Possibly.
a lot there with a lot of the new law changes and things too.
Yeah, with the
benefits,
payroll
so,
and all the things
yeah.
that have happened, so it's been quite a transition. And the other one, Taylor Meeks, been with us for a couple of years, done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
As our band teacher in both the elementary and the high school, and he's getting married, and he and his future wife want to move closer to his, where I believe they're both from southern Minnesota. He is from southern Minnesota. He's been offered a job in Farmington, and should probably be approved as we speak. So should he be approved down there, he's tendering his resignation here, and we'll open that position up as well. But both Julie and Taylor have been with us for a time period, and they've both done wonderful jobs, and we'll miss them, and we wish them well. And Julie will still be around. We'll miss her in the district office.
I will say that I texted Dan this afternoon and said, what do we have to give Taylor Meeks to keep him here?
We have to move his family.
His retention, can't we just be their family? You know, his retention rate is phenomenal.
Yeah, at the band concert, he announced that the entirety of the 6th grade band had signed up to move into 7th grade band for the first time. So they're keeping every single kid. I know he didn't announce it there, one, not to take away from the kids, but also probably not to make some of those kids sad and make them change their mind. You know that he doesn't want to set the next band teacher up not to have those kids step in and be open for him. So, but yeah, he had the entire 6th grade sign up to move into 7th grade band. So that's pretty awesome.
That is, I love what he did with the pep band and getting the huge involvement at the football games and basketball games. Is so,
Yeah, he's been
so
a great.
awesome. He is wonderful. My kids really liked him.
So that position will be opened up
We'll
soon.
probably try to get it posted tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'd also like to introduce Leah Oak. She doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I know she was coming. She'll be approved as our new elementary principal. So Leah, welcome. Leah and Mary both were here for a day last Wednesday, I think it was, maybe? Was it Wednesday?
Last Tuesday.
Tuesday, and spent the day in the elementary school, spent a little time over here in the high school, just kind of getting to know people and getting them out and about so people here would recognize them, so.
Yeah, I think that the staff, I think there were around 20 staff from Rippleside that were included in the hiring process for Leah, and they were, it was virtually unanimous, and so everyone was very excited about you, Leah, and to have you on board. Heather, I know you were a part of that process too, so a few of you back over in that corner, right? So thank you for participating in that process. We're excited to have you and appreciate you coming in and meeting everyone early too. So I think you will be a great complement with Lisa and with Mary. We look forward to having you. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I do plan on abstaining from this vote because of the contract with Central Lakes College. So we will have, assuming that this motion passes, we'll have Brian sign that contract. So we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I will abstain. Motion carries with those, everyone else voting yes with my abstention. Okay, and congratulations to the Sweetman Scholarship recipients as well there. Okay, next we are down to the discussion, 8B, discussion items.
Can I
Rippleside staffing.
interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
Were you here for a student council report?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
All right, can we sneak her in?
Yeah, of course.
the president couldn't make it, so here I am.
All right, thank you for coming, we
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, my name is Bailey Kasperzak. I've been here before. I'm one of the vice presidents. Next year, me and then Elliot Christensen will be moving up to the president positions, and then we've elected Alyssa Carr as our next year's vice president. We decided that because of the size of our council, we didn't really need 2 people in each position, so we're cutting back to just 1 for next year, see how it goes. And then we elected Jeffrey Brassard as our chair. I don't know, that's how our elections went. Recently we've been doing a fundraiser. We called it Splash the Staff. So we have buckets that students can place their donations in, and whichever staff member has the bucket with the highest funding in it will get a pail of cold water, 5-gallon bucket poured on their head on one of our last pep rallies of the year. And yeah, that's about all we're doing right now. We have some future planning going on for homecoming and potential fundraising opportunities for next year. But other than that, it's been a pretty slow end of the year for the council. Yeah, kind of saying goodbye to some senior officers and yeah.
Maylee, where are the buckets in case we wanted to add to your?
Is it just students that are allowed to put money in?
They might have one in particular that we need to staff.
Oh.
Where are they located if we would like to?
He resigned.
I know what we're talking about. Okay. Yeah, we have the buckets in the high school cafeteria during the lunch hours. We always have 2 people manning that table, so. You wanna?
So somebody-
We might have to leave envelopes behind.
So if somebody wanted to contribute that aren't able to get here during lunch, would they go to the office, would they go
They
to?
probably could. I'm sure that could get
Yeah,
to
they can go to Thirsty or
Thirsty, yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
or-
Uh-huh.
I'll make sure it doesn't go in my bucket.
Yeah.
All right.
So let me see if I can remember the staff members that are participating. I know that it's Miss Rader, Paul Grams, he's the math substitute this year. Those
Mr.
2,
Meeks.
both back here, Hendo and DeMars. Mr. Meeks is doing it. I think Richters and Miller are the last ones. Wait, am I forgetting one? We'll check this. Wait. It's been going pretty good though. I feel like students are getting a kick out of potentially throwing ice water on their teachers. So, let's see if I can find that.
I'm feeling like Mr. Stifter really should have signed up since he's retiring.
Exactly.
There are certain days you just stay out of the hallway, keep your head down.
Shoot, I do not know who that is, but there's one more staff member. I'm not thinking who it is. the top of my head.
That sounds very cool, thank you.
Okay.
The band concert was phenomenal. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty sad. A lot of people didn't realize that Mr. Meeks was resigning. He kind of broke the news to the band this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, excited for him, but sad for us,
Yeah,
right?
he's going into a really good opportunity. He talked to us
Yeah.
about it this morning too, and it sounds like he's gonna be back to visit, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're happy for him, bittersweet, you know.
yeah, for sure.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, 8B discussion items, Rippleside staffing.
The last meeting came up with a couple of staffing questions. I checked with Cassie today. One was regarding kindergarten. Right now, we have 45 kindergartners signed up for next year. She's anticipating that 63 to 67 is where that group will end based on what we
know.
kind of know and conversations they've had. Right now, there's still some, and it's pretty typical every year, there's still some families deciding if they're going to put their kid in or they want to wait a year, which they're going to, those types of things. But so that's where we're at there. Like I told you last time, we've been around that 60 to 65 the last couple of years. If potentially if everybody shows up, we could have 70 or 72 even, but she doesn't think we'll get to that mark. The other grade level we wanted to talk a little bit about, I think, was the current third grade going to the fourth grade. We've had a couple of discussions. I met this morning with the third grade staff, and it has been a challenging year for the third grade staff, one because of numbers and one because of, there's 27 or 28 kids in each of those sections. That was one of the budget cuts we made 2 years ago. It's the second year with those in 3 sections. And it's it's always usually when we have situations like this, it might not be necessarily the students who have the most needs that have already support built in, whether it's special education or title, or the kids that excel, they kind of get it. It's those kids that sometimes are challenged that can do it with a little bit extra push or a little more push, and they feel like they're just not always able to give them that support as they need. We also talked about the budget realities of everything too, and they kind of get it, but the third grade is usually usually a lot of positivity coming out of third grade, and I think there still is, but all 3 of the teachers there have been doing this for a while. It's so I put some weight in that, and quite honestly, I would, and I do want to transition everything going on. Leah, we talked a little bit about this, but she's kind of getting hit with it too. I think this is more of a conversation to have with Leah and Mary, and if we want to add a section there or not. Educational needs, and Holly said last month said it's about, what's best for the kids. What's best for the kids, probably 4 sections. But then we gotta look at our financial aspect of it. I didn't get a chance to spend much time today peeling through all the legislative changes. It does look like we're gonna go backwards on compensatory. Our funding will decrease, our enrollment decreased a little bit. And that's part of the compensatory reduction. There's still the Blue Ribbon Commission is talking about if they don't come up with it could be as much as $50 million reduced from statewide special education, which I'm not sure how much further back that would take us. Remember 2 years ago, we got a bump in special ed where they increased the cross subsidy. I don't think we're gonna go back lower than that, but if they don't come up with the $50 million for the Blue Ribbon Commission, there's gonna be some funds coming out of could be some funds coming out of special ed. So a lot of challenging things. If it was just on what's best for kids, we would have left them at 4 sections 2 years ago. And that's when we get questioned, and questions have come up about our capital projects levy and how that's being spent. We are spending it on things that we can pull out of the capital or out of the operating referendum or operating funds to cover what the technology or whatever, so that we can keep people in front of kids. And that's our goal, is to keep good people in front of our kids as much as we can. I'll die on that hill. And that's what moving some of that capital funds within the parameters of that levy, capital projects levy, we have the authority to do that. And some of the reason we have not had to make, I don't want to say substantial cuts, the reason we have not had to make bigger cuts the last couple of years than what we have is because we've had some flexibility with the capital projects levy. And during that time, knowing that we were going out for a referendum vote, it kind of didn't make sense to stick a bunch of money into the elementary school if there's a chance we're going to be leaving it. Well, now we know we're not, so we are going to have to change. So there's going to be some money being pulled out of the capital projects levy, earmarked, higher amounts being earmarked, and we'll talk more about that when I give update from our POC meeting. So that will reduce some of our funding we have as well. So financially, and we're no different than any other schools. One thing maybe, we've been able not to have to cut this year. I was hoping that next year, the first year for the new crew, new administration, they'd be able to get that far too. I can't project that far down or what their decisions will be, but there are some challenges before us. So, but with that, if we stay in that 60-65 mark with kindergarten, I believe 3 sections will be adequate, but I do think it's discussion to be had about that current third grade group, and if we want to expand, but our expand sections are going to another section. So, yes,
so I guess I'll just put out where I said I am willing for us to change our percentage in our savings account. We cannot continue on that we get to save this amount and continuously cut education on the end of that. We are a school. It can't all be business decisions and money decisions. So I know that this will affect our budget, but so will the state and so will everything else, and we never know how that shakes out. And my vote is going to be to expand to 4 sections, because I truly think doing that now will save us down the road in title and other money that we would just have to find programs to refill this group of kids behind, instead of just giving them what they needed up front. So I know what our financial situation is today, what our situation is today, and I'm willing to move our savings account down, even if we have to, for this education for these kids.
I agree with Holly. The jump in math level from 3rd to 4th grade is tremendous. They're learning such more complex things with reading and everything, and we need to set our children up to be successful in their education, which is also a reflection in our state testing scores that we are always judged on. Our staff should have appropriately sized classrooms so that it's manageable for their mental health and their physical health, that all trickles down to. The teachers are asking us to do what's best for the students and for them, and I think that is moving to a 4-section grade.
Dawn?
I have just a quick question. I think the preliminary numbers are back for MCAs. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
What did that show us in that grade level?
I'm not sure if I don't believe I can share numbers, but what staff
does
told
it
me,
show there's been a decline? Are they doing okay?
That's their
Are they
first year
holding on?
taking it, though.
Yeah, it's our first year.
Oh, I suppose. So
our
they're
third
not that.
grade math scores were very good. This part of the conversation this morning, the third grade team I had, they were pretty good, but the debate was how much better could they have been if we were able, it's, if you remember, the categories are does not meet, partially meets, meets, and excels, or how many more of the partially meets or does not meet kids could we have gotten across the line?
Because those are your middle kids. Those are your kids that aren't getting what they need in a giant classroom like that, and those are the ones that give us the growth.
And our third grade math scores are always pretty solid. That's, a tremendous, and I don't take it away from the third grade, but our kindergarten, first, second grade leading up to that, they do a great job with that. So, but I like the comment that they made, that just think if we would have been 4 sections, we could have all spent a little more time with.
Well, especially 3rd grade, because kindergarten to 3rd grade, those are such foundational they are the foundational years of the rest of their education. And so we're already behind the 8 ball. And so, and I want to piggyback on what Holly said about the budget. Learning, you know, people think about, you hear the word budget, and you think that they're talking about a budget like a household budget. That isn't the kind of budget that we have. And when I have heard about other districts that their contingency fund is at 10% or less, and we're over 20%, it's time for us to start using some of that money for educational purposes. And I have concerns, obviously I have concerns about 3rd grade going to 4th grade. I have concerns about kindergarten. And, you know, because we don't have a crystal ball, we don't know what's going to happen. We could end up with 75 children in kindergarten, and then we're going to be scrambling at the last minute trying to add a section there, which is going to create a whole bunch of other problems. It's going to be a domino effect. And then we've got an issue with what's happening with media. And we pay a lot of money for students to have one-to-one technology. And it's really important that they know how to use the technology and that they can use it safely and effectively. And so I think there are a couple of things. And at the same time, I struggle with all of this because it's really not, it's not the purview of the board to be doing this work. And yet, here we are having a discussion at the board table. And so.
I think it's important having the ability to, when you're kind of on the edge of, we drop to 3 sections, you have a surge in students, having the tools to be able to adapt and ramp up when you get a surge is important. But we also don't want to force layoffs because of and end up in some kind of bad budget cycling swing. And I think it's kind of, I don't disagree with you guys at all. I think there's nothing more important than smaller classrooms and especially when it comes to math scores and science scores and all that. They're very important, but we should look at what the economic impact is. You know, if we would reduce the fund balance, what would we have to do to compensate for it? We're talking like with that 1 grade, 2 years of doing it. We'll have to see what the impact is about potential changes to special ed. I'm not willing to vote on it yet because I don't want us to get in some kind of bad sick cycle and try and keep things a little smoother.
Do we have a physical classroom for
I was
them?
going to mention that. Part of the challenge right now, we are expanding. We moved one of our special ed positions over to Rippleside, and bless Mr. Corellis is working hard to try and find a spot, maybe some shared space. But really, what we don't. We did talk a little bit about potentially in the what's the old art room, the multi-purpose room, the what? Flex room, thank you.
Yeah.
Becoming a classroom for that would, there's maybe their arrangement down that hallway, maybe a sped or another specialty area, move into the flex so we can keep, if we did go a 4th section there, keep them in the same physical location of the building. But beyond that, when we lost sections, what we did is we took, at one point we would have 2 or 3 sped teachers in one classroom and partitioned off. And we had open classrooms, we allowed them to move into a classroom so they actually have their own classrooms. Nobody's ever going to tell you that they want to go back and share a classroom, and that'll be a challenge, but that's an option too, where maybe we have to start combining a couple of classrooms or certain areas, maybe sped and title or something like that, but, yeah.
Well, and because oftentimes when you're working in sped and title, you don't need a whole great big classroom for 5, 6, 7 students.
We still need some,
You need space and privacy.
yeah, you need space, privacy, and quiet.
Yeah,
You know, that.
exactly.
That's
But
the non-distracted spaces are what we're gonna be struggling with. 'Cause they spend a lot of time in distracted spaces. We're doing a lot of stuff in those hallways and things already.
I understand what Brian is saying. We can get ourselves into some trouble with the budget. However, we are never gonna know what the legislature is doing. Anybody that can predict that, we need to have coffee. I'll buy you dinner and coffee. Because
And then ask you to give me lottery numbers.
Right, and so, we are never going to know what they're up to. We also don't know what's gonna happen with the funding that will start coming into the local district from our second home.
So that'll only
It's
impact
probably
us-
not a huge amount, but it'll be
That would
some.
only impact us if we had an operating referendum, and we don't currently.
We'd have to go and ask.
We'd have to go ask for an operating referendum. And what the benefit of the seasonal property, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
Seasonal property rec would be, we could if we ran an operating referendum, or if we had one, the percentage that our homestead people, our people live here, would decrease, because now 50% of the
Gets
cabin
spread.
funds stays here. And that's something that changed back in the Ventura administration, where they pulled all those funds and distributed any of the cabin owners, our recreational property owners, their taxes they paid were distributed statewide, right? So I was classroom then, but ever since we've been trying to pull some of that back, and we're at this the legislative between Hochfield and the guys on the range and all the way over Gresham, they worked hard to get this, so at the seasonal property rec. So now our cabin owners, when they pay their operating referendum taxes, half of that will stay with the local district.
So they went to 50%?
50%.
That's awesome, because originally they were only talking about 27.5
Yeah.
or whatever.
And then went to 35, and then it was 40, and so they did work at
Oh, that's great.
Ventura and
I wish we had an
Hochfield.
operating referendum.
But if you go for an operating referendum.
Yeah, Crosby's gonna do one. Well, they actually don't have, yes, they do have a lot of seasonal rec. They don't have egg. That's what they don't have.
There's the update that I have it as far as sections, and I guess, I know I'll put this into June, but I would like to have more of a discussion with both Mary and Leah before we go to that.
Should we be planning a work session around this then? Because by then we maybe will have better numbers on kindergarten. We'll have more numbers on all of that, and we could.
I don't know that we'll have better numbers on kindergarten until July.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes August. But
yeah,
it's a 1 year.
right before school starts is when we'll know better about kindergarten. I wonder, Dan, if you could get us some budgetary impact numbers. If we were to add a section to 4th grade for next year, and if we were to move the media teacher back into teaching media, and then can we shift some people around? Are we gonna have to hire some new people? Just some budgetary impact
I
information.
figure about, Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about $80,000 a position with benefits and things. So
Will this be a 3-year?
that'd be up to the board, I guess. I mean, that would really be,
Because if they're too big in 4th, they're gonna be too big in 5th, they're gonna be too big in 6th. By 6th grade, it's not, and I don't mean this in any way, but it's not quite as many core. It's more of the developing your expanding on your cores. So getting into your long divisions and things like that. So maybe by 6th grade, we could get them back to 3, but 5th grade again is that long division time where you're just learning that. You're just really diving into some of those cores of math that I think our math teachers would appreciate them having under their belts good before they hit 7th grade. So I guess we maybe need to ask if this is a 2 or a 3 year budget impact also.
Well, but the other part of this is that I think that we don't often talk about is that we as a district are right on the bubble. A class can be a 4-section class, or it can be a 3-section class. I think we have one that might even could qualify for a 2-section class. And as much as I would not want to ask the staff to do anything more, because it has been a difficult few years, I really think that we are going to have to ask that people be nimble and be able to make those adjustments according to what the enrollment trend is doing, because, you know, like you said, they were too big in 3rd grade. They're going to have to be a 4-section in 4th grade, 5th grade, possibly 6th grade, and then what? And you know,
Years ago, I remember that kind of happening with my son's grade, and so there was a year where there was a multi-age room where.
That's what I was just going to ask about. Is that something we could?
We thought that it was great. My child was a part of that, and we appreciated that. But Renee Baller was a fantastic teacher, and I don't know what her thoughts were on it, but we felt that it was a good fit for our family.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to ask our incoming administration, our existing administration, and our staff to be patient and to be creative, because this isn't like it has been in the past. And we might be able to draw from some experiences from the past, but we're gonna have to just do things differently. And so it might not be, if we hire a teacher, that it be a 2-year thing or a 3-year thing. It might be that we have to hire a teacher that's kind of a floater, that, you know, incoming kindergarten 3 years from now might be huge and need a 4-section, and that floating teacher would be the 4th section of kindergarten that year, and maybe 4th grade the next year, whatever it is. And so, you know, I know districts now have gone to hiring a full-time substitute teacher, that they're just there, that's all they do is sub. And so, you know, I just think we're gonna have to be creative, and we're gonna have to make educated decisions based on budget impact and all the stuff.
Anyone else? Okay. Project Oversight Committee update?
Yep, so everybody should have gotten a copy of the notes, the plan. Brian, Rollin, and Cindy and I met with Jeff and Nathan and Dan from the architects and ICS, kind of reviewed the plans there. And those of you board members on that committee, feel free to jump in, but, you know, basically we're looking at where do we go from here, you know, and a discussion focused on dealing with our most urgent infrastructure needs, health and safety needs, looking at our levy authority, you know, and build in process to bring in input and get feedback not only from the board but beyond as well. You know, and again, some of the areas we've been looking at is roofing. Steve Snyder's had Thielen Roofing over a couple of times, reviewing the roofs of both the high school and the elementary school, detailing or coming up with an updated plan on roofs that are really beyond their life expectancy. So it's one of the areas we're looking at. Indoor air quality. We had last Friday, we had engineers here from CMTA. It's an architects design team reviewing our current ventilation system and seeing our the capacities, looking for ways to expand or capitalize on the full capacity of our rooftop units and our chillers and so on. We're also reviewing some of the air quality reports from the fire marshal report, the IEA indoor air quality reports, looking at areas of rooms that were identified as poor ventilation, seeing what we can do there. And in the process of doing that, looking at what we can do to kind of dehumidify, which would be a school's way of saying trying to air condition more of the elementary building, really just using the systems we have and expanding them. The goal is to upgrade and replace things that are older than 15 years. But we don't want to, we got to compromise if needed, as needed, to keep it within what we could levy if we choose to do that. Parent and bus pick up and drop off. We looked at, we're again talking about a number of things. We walked Jeff and Nathan and I walked that area out beyond Wookfield to see if there's space to maybe create an entrance from that side and not impact Wookfield to get that done. Without having actual survey marks or, space limitations or easements and things like that. There could be room to do something there and have them kind of come in behind the west side of Wookfield beyond the walking track and do a turnaround up kind of where the staff parking lot is now to do either a parent or a bus drop off. Secure entry, looking at what we can do to improve and update and create a secure entry at Rippleside. Again, JLG's working on, that's the architect, they're working on some designs and some plans there within the current infrastructure that's there. And looking at probably levy authority of up to about $11 million that the board can do without a community vote. This would address many of the things that we were hoping to address by building new and some of the things that rose to the forefront through all of this. Maybe I'll let Cindy and Brian address this. There was a proposal brought forward by a group of community members. I attached that as well in the board book and board minutes. I don't know if, I guess I'm kind of at the end of my talk. I don't know if you want to address that or those you have at the POC meeting. Our goal is to have things that we can bring back to the June board meeting and make a decision on what we want to levy, how we want to levy, what we're going to do now and what we're going to wait. The other thing that we've been working on Rippleside, there's a couple of spots, the Children's Center, the hallway, and the entry exit out to the playground and the entry out to the street. Those have asbestos under the tiles. The tiles are getting to the point to where they're starting to deteriorate. And when that happens and you got to replace them, we'll have to take out the asbestos. We'll have to abate it. One of the classrooms there also has those tiles in that need to be abated. But just because those tiles are starting to let go. So those are some things, and those might, depending on where we go with the levy, those might just be things we have to eat and do this summer just to get it done. So we can use LTFM dollars to, I think, my right levy. We do have levy authority to take the old tile and the asbestos out, but we don't have levy authority to put new floor in. So if we're able to levy to take the old floor and get the asbestos out, it would be a general fund or a project. Capital levy project to put the floor back in.
So we're kind of looking at, there's multiple levels. So there's emergency repairs right now, roof patching. There's roof plan deferred maintenance projects to address that are still pretty urgent.
Yep.
I don't want to call everything an emergency,
right,
but you can call them urgent repairs, upgrades. And then there's a problem of classroom space, just entire envelope issues and things that we can't address. There's a lot of things that can't be addressed with levies, because the levies can only be used on, there's certain dollar amounts on specific things. So that we don't have, the one thing we don't have yet is a total budget on how much under each category could be spent. But
I'm going to talk first and then I'll.
Yep. Yeah. But what we do know is there's not enough money to do what the building needs, nowhere near that amount. So
So I can give an update. So Dr. Anderson and I talked, and he indicated that, of course, he's the prior superintendent from 20 years ago. He indicated that he had talked with 8 prior school board members, himself, and then 2 other prior administrators, as well as other interested community members. Those named, I recall, Jennifer Cummings, Dallas Smith, Justin Carty. Do you remember any other names? And so he had indicated that he had met with a group of those people, either as a group or individually, and solicited feedback. I think prior to the referendum, maybe after the referendum as well. And that, in his opinion, they had essentially agreed on what they felt would be a good recommendation to us. And so he put that in writing. That was attached, I think, to our board packet tonight. So Brian and I met for lunch with Dr. Anderson, Dallas Smith, and Justin Carty, and we reviewed that. Essentially, that involves, that group's feedback involves remodeling Rippleside, adding about 5 classrooms sort of off what I would call the back 3rd grade wing, and then eliminating the front, what I would refer to as sort of the hillside, which is sort of like the kindergarten area, right, the front of the building,
Yeah.
eliminating that, creating a new safe entry. And then another piece of that was trying to privatize the busing, our busing system, and trying to find a contract to privatize that. Those are the main components, right? So it did not, they acknowledged it did not involve anything related to the roofing problems or the septic problems or indoor air quality problems. And so we spent a lot of time talking about that. They gave, they had reached out to the local hospital and tried to talk with some different engineers that they were familiar with to come up with some budget dollars regarding like a square foot price. When we talked about it at our POC, the consultant said that they were actually pretty close on the square foot price of what they had used on that. And so Dallas Smith had indicated that he would be interested at whatever point we wanted to move forward on looking if we wanted to do a remodel. He was interested in serving as a citizen, like on a committee feedback. So Brian talked about that in 2015-16 when we did the big community feedback regarding the land purchase and the roof situation with both Rippleside and the high school. He served as a citizen member. That was prior to his time on the board. And I think at that time, all of the current board members were invited to submit 2 names when we created sort of that citizen task force. So Dr. Anderson, I don't believe was interested in serving on that, nor was Mr. Carty, although I encouraged both of them to consider that. So I don't think after meeting, I think their project had similar talking points from what our consultants were already kind of looking at, similar concepts and ideas regarding things that we've already talked about with respect to remodeling Rippleside. So they're going to kind of look at those a little bit more closely, try to calculate some of those costs in a little bit more detail. But as Mr. Stifter and Brian have said, I think that that plan didn't necessarily identify our most critical, what I would call our urgent issues, which would be, the roofs, the air quality.
I think it did have roofs, like an immediate roof repair.
No, it did not.
It didn't?
No.
Oh.
And so it did have those. So I do think that there will be a time where we will get to having community feedback and looking at that. And I told Dallas that if we get to where we're going to be submitting names, I will be submitting his name as one of my names if that's a similar process that we go through. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that I appreciated their feedback and their work on that, and that we're continuing to work on it. But that's going to involve a pretty long process. I think it's also going to involve not only looking at that as the urgent needs, a remodel, and then also affecting our long-term strategic plan. I think that much of that conversation involved keeping the current land there. At least Justin Carty's and Dallas Smith's recommendations were to keep our existing land and to not sell that off. I think that's sort of split amongst some of those group members, but that was some of their feedback as they had reviewed all of the information I had provided previously, and they had indicated upon reviewing that and I realizing that we had gone through 18 different land reviews and all the entire process that we went through with that, they did agree that it was an appropriate decision. They just hadn't realized what all we had gone through. So they were not of the idea that we should be selling the land, although I think other members of that group maybe didn't agree with that. But I just wanted to give you that feedback on my meeting with them.
This kind of goes, how is this going to affect our ability to use our parking lot and sidewalks? Because we are crumbling outside, and I want to make sure that we're not utilizing too much, that we're not gonna be able to do what needs to be done,
So
because.
we're gonna do the parking lot on the north side of the high school this summer.
Okay.
We can't wait for levy on that. We're gonna start at the corner, northwest corner, and go down to the gravel parking lot, I think is.
The sidewalks, not
Sidewalks, yeah.
Not parking lot.
No, on the sidewalk, we're gonna start at the
Sure.
northwest corner of our lot.
Yeah.
Do the sidewalk all the way down to
In bad shape.
the gravel parking lot, just doing the sidewalk.
Just from the building to the gravel parking lot, like not beyond, like in front of the gravel parking lot, or here in front of like the north entry?
No, we're gonna go all the way, let's see, I think we're at, all the way to that corner, stops across from the church.
Yep.
From that corner all the way down to the
Okay,
gravel parking lot.
so we will take care of these big spots in front of the north entry.
And then coming down along, I
right.
believe it had in the bid, it came down along the northwest entry, that loop, that stretch there along, like where the custodian door is and that.
Yep.
Doing that as well.
Yeah, when I come into events at night and I'm watching people walk there, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it like gets my school board heart
That
just
was one of
going.
the-
Watching people walk, I'm like, don't fall.
We've been patching and repairing, waiting, because the city has told us they're gonna redo the street.
Right.
Yes, I know, and that's why I wanted to make sure this wasn't going to then push this
Yeah.
further. But if we're going to be taking care of the main ones out here that most of them are using
Yeah.
this summer, then
And that'll be right
that's
after
less
school
of a
year's out,
question
we
for
should
me.
be on those. Steve has met with Von Nickel in the city. I can't remember what the curb's called, but I think it's gonna be a full curb, so that when they come back, when they do finally do the street, they're not gonna have to take out our curb, or it's not gonna, should not impact that, so. They had a term for it, I'm losing it now don't have it right in my head right now, but, so he has met with them to, so when you finally do the street, we don't want you to rip up our sidewalk in 2 years or rip up our curb,
Yeah.
so we're gonna put in whatever that
There's gonna be a
curb call.
space between the curb and
Yeah.
where our new sidewalk
Yeah.
edging is.
Yeah, do you remember what he?
I forget what he called it, but it'll be, the new sidewalk will be protected.
Yeah,
All right, awesome.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was hoping that Ms. Cummins was here, but she's not, because I will publicly say that I'm the one who asked the POC committee to look at condemnation. Because in the Minnesota statutes, there's a provision in there that says that if the repairs cost more than 50% of the value of the property, then they have the authority to condemn the building. Well, our repairs to Rippleside far exceed 50% of the value. And I think about, if your home has damage to it, however the damage happened, and it reaches a certain threshold, your insurance is gonna just scrap it and tell you to build a new house. And so that was where my thought process was, and I thought it was worth exploring. And I think it's still worth exploring and having some conversation with the Department of Ed about it. And I do understand they don't want to get on a slippery slope, because then they'll have other buildings, what have you, but I think that's the board work. That's what we do. It's not that we're trying to hide things from people. We are exploring what are all of the options. This is an option. Whether it's a viable option or not really doesn't matter. It was an option to be explored. I think I have big concerns about whether or not it is negligent on our part, or on, I'll speak for myself, my part as a board member, to be pouring money into a building that I just can't see it. You know, that one, how much is that one little section gonna cost in the roofing repairs on that south end of the building? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was a significant amount of money to do just one small end of Rippleside, to do the roofing stuff. And no guarantee that that's what it will cost, because when you start ripping into things, all of a sudden you're going to find black mold because there's been water that's been pouring through there. So there's going to be black mold in there. That has to be cleaned up. There's all kinds of stuff as you begin to dig into that building. I have concerns about adding on to a building that already has pretty significant issues, part of which is because the building has been added on to so many times. So are we going to just keep exacerbating the problem by adding on? We don't even have technically even have a gym over there. We have a couple of spaces, but they're not appropriately sized to be gyms. And, you know, and we're talking about classrooms. We don't even have classrooms over there that are big enough to accommodate what would be a normal class size when we get 30 students into a classroom that's already too small. And so it's a domino effect. All of it is. And I'm anxious to see numbers. I'm anxious to see which levy buckets we can use. I'm anxious to see what the Department of Ed is willing to do to help us. And whatever they're not able and willing to do to help us, I think that our whole community needs to show up at the Capitol next year and needs to let people know that, you know what, you have screwed public education for so many years that our buildings are falling apart. You're griping because our students don't pass the test at the level that you want them to pass it at. It all goes together. And it isn't local people. It's not the board. It's not the community. Part of it is the legislature. Part of it might be the community. Everybody has to take their fair share in it. But and as I think about the folks who brought you some plans for how you could move forward, I think to myself, they didn't put 100 hours in doing the hard behind the scenes work that we all did. And I don't think it's appropriate for these folks to come along and say, if you do this, then I'll put my stamp of approval on it. It's wrong. No matter how you cut it, it's wrong. And I want people to come with a solution to the problem. I'm not saying that. If you got a problem with something, you need to come and have a solution to the problem. And I'm grateful that they did that. But I'm not especially grateful and thankful that the message that has been received, and they need to hear this loud and clear, the message that has been received, do what we want, and we'll put our stamp of approval on it. And then we'll pass that around through the community so that you can pass whatever you need to pass to get it done. It's inappropriate, it's wrong. And I don't appreciate getting put into that position at all. And so those folks need to show up in the room when we're having board meetings and work sessions, and they need to put the time in, just like we have, because we are basically volunteers here. The $225 a month that I get to be a school board member is I get paid 25 cents an hour to do the work.
This is going to kind of draw both of our discussion points together, because I think in this talk about educational space and how we're not going to be able to afford that, we need to go back to this conversation of moving 6th grade to the high school. That might solve some of our classroom, running out of classroom things and some of that. I know we've never wanted to do it on facilities, but this is both facilities and education. We can't just keep the kids down there and be like, because we haven't looked through the education, well, if our facilities aren't sustaining them anymore, then their education isn't going to be sustained either. So I think that needs to go on this discussion point too, of maybe we can save in some of that educational space and some of that remodeling by moving 6th grade up to high school. Considering that we do have some of those smaller groups moving up now. So that should be at least in the form of discussion of one of our solutions.
Roland? Oh, sorry.
She actually had it first, or do you want me to go?
Go ahead, Jen.
Mine will probably be much shorter than yours.
That's a
I
safe
just want to
bet.
say, like, echoing the amount of hours that we put in as a team to come up with these plans, it is really hurtful for people to come here and say, you didn't tell us X, Y, and Z, when maybe hopefully they were watching the board meetings, but there certainly weren't a lot of people accusing us of withholding information present during those. So we talked about repair and renovation of Rippleside. Dan shared this information with the board in September of 2025, so you could probably go back and watch a meeting at some point, and ICS has this. We discussed remodeling and renovating Rippleside and replacing Rippleside at the current site. Replacing Rippleside at the current site was estimated to be $49,800,000. And to renovate and repair, which did not include everything needed, it talked about secure entry, right-sized classroom, added gym space, updated administrative space, remodeled bathrooms, updated special education space, and enhanced parking. It did not include bus and parent pickup and drop off, and that came in at $25,500,000. So those were discussed in great length. We reviewed that as a board, and that's why we put forward the plans that we put forward. And for the comments of safe parent drop-off isn't necessary because someone hasn't died yet is a really awful thing to say, and I take great offense to that. We put in so many hours on this, and please ask before you accuse us of not sharing information. Thank you. Your turn, Roland.
All right, you guys. So, we can agree to disagree, right? Right, Jim? So, if this community understands, we agree to disagree, okay? This board can understand we agree to disagree. Everybody out here can agree to disagree. Our public spoke that we're not gonna build a new school. Okay, let's get that straight. Let's just call it, just okay? So that's, in my opinion, I'm not, you know what, if I hit a skunk on the way here, I'm not gonna go back and smell the damn skunk, okay? That thing is back there, and I'm not gonna go smell the skunk, okay? No, I'm not reading.
It does stink. We can admit
Yeah,
that
we
it
can,
stinks.
but you know what? I'm just gonna move on, because skunk removes itself fairly quickly. Being a trapper, I know that, and it does. So you look at that, right? Yeah, the deal done with condemning, yeah, in my opinion, that's a moot point. That's not gonna go anywhere there. I have zero appetite to look at that because it's just negative energy that wouldn't amount to anything. I don't see anybody at a authoritative level even wanting to take that and looking at doing that, because that's just gonna go boom. And you know what? If
But I
you
do
really
think-
look at condemning something, you can create a number that will condemn it. Absolutely, I'm not going to disagree with you, but
It was
you're going to
worth
have
looking at.
But well, I think we have.
Yeah.
And you're
And
not
so
going
we're
to
good.
look at, because you can create the number that doesn't, and who's creating numbers is who's going to be looking at doing that. So somebody will be able to create a number on all different sides of that thing. Doesn't matter, okay, in my opinion. We have to move forward with our renovation, what the community wants. Community has to look at, that's what we're gonna do. Rippleside, I think there's some things that we had a discussion with that look pretty good. I think I can live with that in the future. It's not gonna be satisfactory what I would have liked to have seen, but you know what? It's going to work. I think there's some things that's there. It's gonna cost taxpayers about the same, maybe a little bit less, but you know what? It's still gonna cost the taxpayers, no matter what, how we look at it, to get this thing to where we want. And I think we talked about that, but again, that's behind us. That's, we said those things in talking points. And now we have to move on with the way I look at it, to have the discussion on it. That's where the focus is, because it's just in reality of what we have to do. So that's my opinion.
Without a doubt, we'll all agree, the best plan was the plan that we submitted in November for referendum. That was the best plan. That was the best plan for the children. And the future is the most cost-effective plan. It had by far the highest cost benefit of any option we've looked at, but that one failed, and then the second version of it failed again. So
Yeah, this is where we're at, everybody.
it is kind of where we're at.
This is where we're at.
So as we're looking at moving forward,
It's not going to be as cost effective, or it's not a great plan. It doesn't do the best job for the kids.
And great news, we'll be criticized for 20 years about it, but that's just that's the joy of being on the board.
That's your prize
Exactly.
package at the end of the
Not a good plan. It's not cost effective. It's a
And
waste
we're
of
only thing I
money.
would change
but
is
here's
is
my
what we want.
concern
It's
with
what we
moving forward. We do not
you're right.
have levy authority to do all of it, at least the most emergent stuff. We do not have levy authority to do all of that.
We understand that.
Well, so now we have to go back to the community and we have to pass a referendum to pay for whatever levy won't.
You
And
are
so,
correct.
Are we so sure that it would pass?
Well,
No.
No.
we're not
No.
so sure, but you know what? There was a group that came in, and they speak for themselves. They came in, there was some things that were resolved from both sides. I mean, both sides. Both groups came together and says, all right, there's some things that popped out on all of it, that this is where I think the best way of moving forward with it. And that gets moving like this, and then, you know, you're taking the voters that voted on this thing, this way they want to move, and build that. There's some resolve between a couple of think tanks here, and there's some plans that will have to go to referendum in the future, and I hope they can get passed, because it's been collective at this point. Not saying it wasn't before, but it's there, so.
I guess we have to look at it from what Dan likes to always tell us. We can't eat an elephant all in one bite, so we can only do it one bite at a time. So we're just gonna have to they set out our emergence and we're gonna have to pick that. And I mean, we're just gonna have to sit down and do our nice little timelines, and this is what we can address. We're never gonna be able to address it all. We tried, and we're gonna have to leave that up to something in the past. For now, we just have to get us to where we can feel okay about sending those kids to those buildings, because we all know that none of us feel okay about it right now.
Part of what we identified when I met with that group and then when the POC met, is that their recommendations, the first group, when we met for lunch, their recommendations did not involve any of our emergency fixes. Okay? Their recommendations were about remodeling Rippleside in what they felt was a fiscally responsible way, which honestly was very similar to concepts that we had looked at in September.
Right, that's, yeah.
Right? And so, I think that that's fine. However, I think that we have to move forward first with our more urgent priorities. And so it's not competing, it's collaborating. And so I don't think that there's anything about their plan that we're throwing out. I think that we can embrace that. It's just not the top of the urgency right now. So I think that
They'll be the bottom of the timeline.
we need to
Do
move
they
forward.
understand that?
We talked about that. It didn't,
I
they
think it's
acknowledged.
fairly easy, as long as
It
they
didn't have the roofs, it didn't have the septic system, it didn't have the air quality issues, so.
It was
didn't have
a
asbestos
100,000 foot
Yeah.
wall. It wasn't even 50, it was 100, because it's easy to do that. It's very easy to look at it from that, but there's a lot more that goes to it. And I think that's where, if you take a look at it from there was some things that can come together with it. But as long as the realization that was really, really high level.
It was, and it's fair to say, even the architects said those are some interesting ideas.
Yeah.
And they said they had considered some of those ideas.
Yes.
It's on their list, so
Yes.
it's not like they're not like totally out in left field. It's some things the architects had, some stuff they hadn't considered, and they're obviously there's a lot of design and.
Yeah, it's drive time and a little talk and stuff like that they're doing, but they're not putting it on paper because that costs money, right? I mean, they're not.
I have to say, I appreciate you who are doing this, because after the 18 months that we put in going through all the rest of that, I don't think I could dive myself back into more of what's going on in our facilities. So I truly appreciate you that have taken this up, because I needed a break on our
We gotta move
facilities.
forward. That's the way I
We
am.
do, but.
We do
yeah.
have to move forward, but we have to move forward in a realistic manner. And I think that those folks who you met with, it doesn't sound like their stuff was unreasonable. My expectation of them is that they show up and be a part of the process.
Yes, and we talked about that, and I encourage them, and I
Yeah.
hope that they do. And I know that we have a commitment from at least one.
Going along with this, I have, right now, ICS is not under contract. They're bringing all these entities in to work on this. And they do have a contract with them that I sent to Pemberton Law to review. I've gotten contracts, the AEI contracts from a couple of other projects. I would say similar is not the right word, but comparable maybe, to try and see what their bid price or quote prices are and how they compare moving forward. But I hope to have that finalized and brought back to the board for June approval.
Didn't we approve, I know we didn't approve the final contract, but didn't we approve moving
Yeah,
forward?
that's why I give you an update where we're at with it. And basically the fees, should we move forward with whatever we move forward with, their fees will be built in to the project costs, because they understand, we don't have upfront money to say, here's, I don't know, I'm gonna make up a number, $35,000 to do this study, or to do this, or to have, so it's all being, the assumption's there that the belief is that we gotta do something, and when we move forward with that levy work, there'll be their fees will be built into that as we're able to collect. So we're not gonna be taking money out of our general fund budget or operating fund to cover that, so.
Do we need to go out for bid?
I don't believe we do. We have been able to make comparable analysis, I think is what it's called, but.
Should we go out for bid?
I just want to make sure that if we need to be going through the bidding process, that we are.
Well, I think they're within their contract. I think there was implied language that we could move forward as we progress. But I can't quite remember if that was for approval on the referendum or if it was on the remodel side of it. Okay.
I'll double check that.
Yeah, you might want to double check
I
that.
think
'cause
best practice would be to
that's
get
kind of
two
critical.
quotes, but the dollar amount won't be enough to have sealed bids.
And you know,
Okay.
whatever,
So that would be fine, I think, if we could get 2 quotes then.
whoever we hire as professional consultants, that input comes from this board, from our constituents to give to them to perform the work. They're not, I mean, they're acting on our best behalf as a district when they're doing that work, and they're doing the input from what we've given them on all those meetings that we've had and collectively done it that way. And, you know, they've done what we've asked them to do.
And they've done, in my opinion, a lot of work for free.
They've done an enormous amount of work for very, very little.
Yeah.
And in the consulting world, I've said it here publicly before. Yeah, it's way, way, way less than what you would get on a different type of a consultant with different names. I'm not going to name companies. We wouldn't get that type of scenario. Because
Yeah, I'm very satisfied with them. I just feel like there are some people in our community who have other issues or companies that they work for. And so I just want it to be a very legitimate process. I'm not asking because I'm not satisfied with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo that. I'm very satisfied with the work that they've done. I am wondering if we have a list of, and maybe it's just in your head, Dan, of the pro bono work that they've done. Because I know they've done pro bono work for us, and I think it would be nice to have that list to be able to justify why we want to stick with them. They know the district, they know our facilities, they know the district. And they've done really good work for us. And they're available, I think every board member has Jeff's phone number and Nathan's.
They're not the reason this referendum failed.
No, they're
Well,
not.
not even.
No.
That did not swing. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of votes, I'm sure. There's a few votes. And there's a few votes on this, and there's a few votes on that. And there's votes.
I just am concerned because we have a couple of folks in the community who seem to have it in for ICS. And I want to make sure that.
Well, they can have their opinion. That's fine.
Yeah, but
They
we
can
need to
speak.
make sure that we're doing
Can listen.
things the way we need to do it.
Yeah.
And
We listen to them. I've listened to them. And I've done my fact finding.
So I think the idea, so I think we have, so then to just wrap up this committee update, I think we've got 2 more meetings that are scheduled. They're going to be bringing back some more specific numbers to us. Don, we did ask them to follow up to look to see if they had any experience or information regarding condemnation. They do not recommend that for us. Dan did not recommend that for us. I know I've had a number of people who have reached out in the community saying that the rumor around town is that Dan Stifter is personally trying to get Rippleside condemned, so I'd like to make
hopefully
that.
I cleared
Geez,
that up
Dan, you got so
tonight.
much time on your hands.
I said,
It was an option to explore.
Vaughn admitted it was her.
Yeah,
I guess.
and explore all options. That's all we got left is options.
That's a new one.
I didn't say do it, just explore it.
and so I did respond to
It was
those
explored.
people and advised that, no, the consultants were not recommending that. Dan did not recommend that. We didn't intend on moving forward with that,
They're
so.
not familiar with it ever occurring.
That's
so
not true. I can give them an exact day, place, time.
They just personally were not familiar. Their firm had not been
Yeah.
involved with anything. that
Oh,
had
I see, yes, you're
Yes.
talking about, I thought you
Yes.
meant MDE, sorry.
No.
MDE is very familiar with it.
Yeah, I know where there's one too, but there's a lot worse districts. There's also worse structures out there.
So anyways, so I think we have 2 more meetings. Their intent is to come back to the June board meeting to present the information that we've basically talked about, kind of a 3-step plan.
That, it's a pretty hefty discussion to have. Do we need to consider having a work session, maybe a week or 10 days or something before the board meeting?
I think
To
it
have
would
the
be a good
discussion?
idea, because I know that both Brian and I, who serve on this committee, are not going to be here on the June 15th board meeting. So,
And I'm not gonna be here either on the June 15th board
so
meeting.
we might want to consider if we want to still have the meeting, or if we want to change it. But yeah, I think it would be fine.
That one was supposed to be at the Trail Clubhouse too, so if we do slide it back, we might have to put it back into the media center.
Yeah, we could do that and just do a different one.
And you don't want me to do everything there.
You know,
With all the
we
changes
charge.
this move.
It'll be a fast board meeting.
We have our next PLC meets May 26th, and then again, June
8th?
8th, yep, May 26th, June 8th.
So,
We can talk about the board meeting when we get to that, how about that, if we want to
Okay.
change it or
Yeah.
add.
all right, so that's our update. Next is administrative report, board member reports. Any other board member reports?
I can just say that, well, Rolland was there too. Rolland and I went with our American Indian Parent Advisory Council and students to McGregor, to the powwow. And as usual, it was a great event and a great experience. And I was at Valley Fair with the same group last Friday, and so it's always good to see students and spend time with students.
It's cool because all the kids go dance.
Yeah.
All the
and they
kids,
love
our
it.
kids go out there and
Yeah.
everybody goes out there and dance. And it's really good to see that, because you don't see that at a lot of powwows. Kids don't have that, I'm afraid to go out there. They're just go out there.
All kids, except Miss DeMars can report for herself, but she did participate in a couple of games. So
And I took $50 worth of fry bread home. I think I almost bought the whole lady.
I knew I should have been over there.
I have a weakness for it, okay? And it was pretty good. Yeah, we ate fry bread. Might still have a piece, yeah.
Any other board member reports? Okay, committee reports, finance and facilities.
Don, you were there, do you want to go, or you want me to?
You can.
Was that a you can? We talked about the roofs, you know, they're different. I don't have the roof map on here, but we've roofs at elementary school, M, N, and O. That's basically from the science room to the preschool, that whole south end of the building. That's when Steve's been looking at with Thielen Heating. We're looking at bids on the sidewalk. We have the bids in place. We're looking to do the, as I mentioned, from the stop sign on the sidewalk, from the stop sign to the gravel parking lot. That'll happen in June as soon as we can get going there. So it'll be done before, you know, things kick up later. Yeah, then we talked about some of our budget issues and updates on where we're at with working with Steve Schilke and Kevin Wermuth from ICS, and just going through Rippleside and trying to create a plan for the POC and eventually the board. So that's that. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Steve is doing an amazing job of keeping these places put together. I told him flat out, Red Green has nothing on him. I mean, it's unbelievable. He was leaving the meeting to go climb up in the rafters in here to put something up there because there was a leak up here. So he really is doing good work trying to keep things together.
Jim talked a little bit about all the rescheduling and that impacts their day too, on what fields do we mark, what do we do, what do we mow, when do we mow, how do we, so, yeah.
Okay, Personnel Committee meeting.
Well, Cindy, you were there, you want me to run through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about our open positions, always looking for school bus drivers or sub-activity route drivers, any drivers in general. We had some positions posted from the speech para, and then we had some sped positions. We had a couple positions posted that'll be filled by staff that are currently doing those roles, but due to licensure and things like that, we had to post them. One thing, with Mr. Grams had stepped in and filled in math. We had a math teacher who was considering retirement with some of the reductions and changes at the high school. He's decided to stay on for another year, and that's last month. If you remember, we granted Jake Mayer another year of medical leave. So the math department will be covered, and hopefully Jake comes back in a year, and we won't have to do a reduction because we could have a teacher retiring. Well, spring positions are filled, and we approved the boys basketball coach tonight. We're interviewing for the girls basketball coach, and we're almost there for next year. So I think that's a recap.
Principals reports.
On April 22nd, I took a group of sophomores to the Women Leading the Way conference at the 40 Club. American Pete and then a parent of ours sponsored some tables, so we were able to bring a group of students with us, and that was a really good experience. We're talking about how we can bring that to all our girls here at the high school, and just kind of, it was motivational for women in all different areas of the career workforce, and kind of how they manage and balance their time between having families and working outside the home full-time and having high-level stress careers, and how they deal with their stress. So it was very relevant for our kids, and how kids learned how to manage their stress, maybe in different ways, learning from different women. So I think it was really very beneficial, very helpful, and so we had a free meal and had some good times, and then came back to school. We had prom on May 25th at the 40 Club Convention Center, and that was great. It is always so fun to see how dressed up everybody is, and the Grand March was held in the new gym again, and yeah, just a really nice time. Kids won prizes and had a good time. The American Indian Parent Advisory Committee met on Monday, March 4th, and then students attended a powwow in McGregor on Wednesday, May 6th. And so we took, I can't remember how many kids, 15, I believe, with different families that came with us. And then our CF boss is the 8th member of the month. She is very well deserving of that. And it's been so fun for the 11th and 12th grade homeroom reps to meet every month, look through all of the nominations, and then have really good conversations about why this person should be chosen. With there's so many great people that should have it, and so it's so hard to pick. So they decided to have Tharcia be that person, and she's just always welcoming. She's always got kids in the office talking to them about something that's going on in their life, and so she is so appreciated for all that she does. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade choirs performed their spring concert on May 11th. They did a wonderful job. It was fun collaboration between the high school and the middle and sixth grade choir, and they had almost 90 voices singing all together at the end. And so it was really fun to have all of them up on stage and singing and doing their last song. The 9/12 choir concert will take place this Friday night at 7:30 in the Brian P.J. Johnson Auditorium, their final concert of the year, with concert choir, madrigals, Vista Fury, Hamble Choir, several solos, and then they'll recognize 16 seniors that are going to retire this year. So lots of people going away, and that's always the hard time of the year when you welcome in the new sixth graders, but you know that the seniors are on their way out. And we had sixth grade here today, visiting, doing tours, visiting different seventh grade panels and getting a tour, and then visiting with Mrs. Croix, and she creates a video introducing all the seventh grade teachers so they kind of have faces to the teachers that they're gonna have. 5th through 12th band concert was held last Wednesday, the 14th. That was wonderful. Showcased all of the talent that all of these band kids have. It was just incredible how well 5th grade can play, how well 6th grade. I mean, it is just so fun to see, you know, and Mr. Meeks just, you know, stands up there and he's recognizing the kids and just said, you know, this one student said we needed to do Barbie Girl, and so finally she convinced me to do Barbie Girl, and so they played it for 7th grade, and they did a fantastic job. So we have lots of talent here between choir and band and art and athletics. It's just so wonderful to be involved in all of this. Evelyn Anderson got the John Phillips Award. Peyton Tulane was awarded the Louis Armstrong Award, and Mary Kasmerzak received the Pepsi Award from band. So, really good, great people to have those awards. Concert band and concert choir are going to Florida on June 3rd through the 8th. They'll perform at Disney Springs as part of the Disney Performing Arts Series, to take part in a soundtrack sessions workshop at Epcot. Oh, I can't talk. Enjoy an oceanfront barbecue with some beach time and explore Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Universal Orlando, and Islands of Adventure. We are looking forward to this opportunity to represent AHS with our performances and workshops, and to have a wonderful time making music, building community, and exploring fun places together. Seniors' last day is on this Thursday already, so we will celebrate them with food trucks and some fun, and then Friday morning we will do our award ceremony where we recognize students that have a grade point average of 3.75 and higher in 9 through 11, and then we kind of just recognize all of the students that have gotten scholarships, who will be graduating with honors, who is our top 10, who is in sports and athletics, and just kind of show all of our 7th and 8th graders all of the great things you can be involved in and all of the things you can do as you get older in high school. And then we end with our senior tunnel. All the staff come together, we create the tunnel, and we welcome the seniors onto the bus for their skip day, where they'll go to Breezy Point, and then all the kids stand up and move to their new spot for next year in the Bailey Gym. And the seniors will go to Rippleside this year and do their quick walk around before they load the bus again to go to Breezy. So,
Are all of the board members gonna take part in graduation?
When is it?
graduation is next Friday night, the 29th.
29. Yes.
I cannot be there, I have to be.
Jackson has his own graduation.
Jackson graduates, so.
Okay, will you be? Okay.
I have a graduating attorney next week. So,
Okay.
yeah, in my family. So, yeah.
What Rippleside?
And
Rippleside, is it this Friday?
This one.
I'll be there. What time is that?
this Friday?
Heather, I know I asked, is she still back there?
No, she's done.
Okay, well, I asked last
I
time.
have it up at 1:30.
Okay.
Yep, 6th grade graduation is this Friday.
It's Kylan, not Buck.
I always go to 6th grade graduation. It is so fun.
I love 6th grade.
Especially the kids that I know, because I hug them and I do it without asking. No, I'm sorry. That's not true, I ask.
Chair count for sixth grade graduation, please.
Okay, so
Yeah.
who's going to sixth grade graduation? You, okay.
And
so-
Jen.
I'll be
So you
there, I don't
three?
need my count.
Okay,
Okay, so three of us will stand.
and then everyone at the high school graduation except Dawn
And Roland.
and Roland. So 5 for high school graduation, so, okay.
I was trying to
We'll make
figure
sure we
out how I
have
could
chairs.
race
We
back.
have graduation practice next Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Well, if we're inside, outside, we'll be on the bleachers, so we do everybody, don't matter if we're inside.
So we don't have to worry about chairs.
Yeah, so.
I didn't see graduation on the activities calendar, that's why I was.
I think we do usually have chairs outside.
Yeah, but we always end up shoving them back.
It's not there, I looked at it
But
tonight.
as part of the,
Oh, we did have chairs.
yeah, because of all the
It'll be on the
speeches.
next week one.
Lisa, I take that back, we do have chairs.
Yes,
Is that how it
do have-
works?
That's what I was.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
all the speeches, you gotta have a place to sit.
Yeah, okay.
Two things Lisa missed. One, or not missed, but I want to mention based on that, I thought of Dollars for Scholars. We did the awards night. We had just donations, community donations and scholarships.
There's lots there.
Gave away $70,600 there. Dollars for Scholars gave away another $96,000. So this community really comes forward in these in things like this. That's $160,000 went out to our graduating seniors in scholarship awards, and whether it's current local members or families or trusts or whatever, but pretty amazing. So I wanted to share that. And the second thing, Lisa mentioned last month's staff member of the month. I believe this month's was announced today, and who's this month's student or staff member of the month? Miss DeMars is. So, again,
You were gonna skip over that.
yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Dan, I would like to highlight from your report about scholarships that, it's easy when we're frustrated and disgusted over the referendum and the failed referendums. And I've not heard this from anybody around this table, but we have been accused of saying that the community doesn't support kids. And that's not true. And I don't think that the failed referendums is an indication of that. I think there's a lot more in why those referendums have failed. And so, when you hear numbers like that for scholarships, and we see how businesses and people in the community step up to support sports and all kinds of stuff, I don't believe that our community doesn't support kids. I think there's just more to the failed referendums than that. And I just really think it's important to highlight that.
Nedra, did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Sure. The exit was delivered around May 1st and it's full of summer stuff. Lots of things have already started, or even we had a class tonight and a couple classes over the weekend, so super busy. Hopefully you can find something in there, a family member can find something to take part in. The second graders are wrapping up going to the nursing homes or assisted facilities to do art projects that they've done all year. They usually do that on a monthly basis. Mr. Stott has taken over the garden this year behind the school, and he's been working hard getting things ready and growing some plants in his classroom. We're also wrapping up cribbage days with the community members and fourth graders, which is always fun. And last Wednesday, Grand Friends had their last get together at the Legion with their Grand Friends, and they played lunch and had lunch and played bingo, and a great time was had by all. Kids Club summer registration is open. Not very many families are registered yet. I'm hoping that I can start to see some numbers come in so I can start to know how many people I need for staffing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
All right, much of what I have, we've already talked about, but I do want to update on the attendance or enrollment. We have seen a jump, which is in April from last month, primarily in our elementary, but we went from 911 in March to we're at 923. That's an increase 12 students, 11 of them in the elementary. Fortunately, none of them in that third grade. They're all on either side of that. So when I look at previous years from last year, for example, we had 3. We had an increase of 3. So this is a couple of good signs there. One, that they're in the elementary school. Hopefully, if their family's moving in or finding us for the first time, they're going to be here for a number of years. And you know, and I have a good reason beyond that. We do good things. We have good staff. We have good kids. We have a good district. If that message is getting out somewhere along the way better than it was, or what the reason is for it, but it's obviously much better to sit here and tell you our enrollment went up 12 students from last month than to say it went down 12 students. So there we go. That's my update. We've talked about everything else, the POC and those things, and the class sizes and so on. So
This year's seniors, this class is the biggest class in the district, isn't it?
Yep. At 91 students, I believe. Yep. So, nope, I take that back. We're at 8. I gotta get my right month. Yeah, that's right. 91 students.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Personnel Committee, May 27th. Graduation, May 29th. Next school board meeting, we have June 15th. Do we want to look at changing that?
Sounds like we might need to if we're gonna be down board members. Do you wanna go a week earlier or a week later?
What's that?
That is not here, that's at the Mille Lacs Trails Club.
Right now.
It's going to be at the Mille Lacs Trails Club, but there's 3 of us who are going to be missing for sure. So if anybody's sick, then the meeting will be called off or not able to make it. So do we want to?
Should we just move it to the 22nd back here?
I think that would be fine. Is
I
that,
think last year you guys had to fight a tornado to get there, didn't you?
We had to cancel at the last minute. And if we are gonna move it back, maybe we put out our notice ahead of time, just so that anyone who had thought they could come to Melmo gets plenty of advance notice, knowing that we would be back in the media center. Do we need a motion for
I will
that?
not be able to make it on the 22nd, just so you know.
Will you
Or
be
the
around
29th, sorry.
What, June?
Yeah.
My May and June
idea.
and half of July
me
is
look.
like blown up, so.
June 22nd.
what about the 8th?
Nope, I'll be gone, out of the state.
We have
Eighth would make it pretty tight
Oh,
on.
so you're not
getting
making our
for
American
levy,
Indian
too.
Yeah,
Advisory
that's true.
meeting.
I think 22nd would be our best bet.
22nd.
Everybody else be here on the 22nd?
I'll be here.
I can be here.
Okay.
I'm not fishing.
So that leaves just Don
be
would be
here.
the only one
If I'm the only one.
that we
shouldn't
know
be a
for
big
sure.
deal.
Then we should probably be able to get a quorum. Do you need a motion for that?
We should probably do a motion
I'm
in a
just double
second.
checking. Yeah, I think that should be fine for me too.
I'll make a motion to move the June board meeting to the 22nd here in the media center at 6:30.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all members voting yes.
And Heather will send out the meeting notice.
Do we want to have any sort of work session prior to that?
Maybe if Dan gets the stuff together and you feel it necessary, you could send us an email and we could plan one then.
Yeah, the POC committee, the 3 of you would be a part of these next couple of meetings, obviously. I'm assuming you guys are all able to make it on the 26th and the 8th.
I'm gonna miss the 8th.
Somebody else want to step in on the 8th?
Yeah, somebody else should go. You
I'll
wanna
go.
Jen? Okay.
The 26th, I have it on my calendar.
Okay.
Yep, I
You should have the 8th on your calendar too, I think.
The 8th,
What's the
I
8th?
have on my calendar.
POC.
POC.
Yeah.
We're in Fortune Bay.
Oh, I can't make the 8th.
It's a good thing you have Lisa to keep you on track.
Well, I won't be back till the 19th, so. Well, 20th.
Jen is stepping in for Brian. I don't think we can send somebody in for Dan, so.
Oh,
Well, move it, so I see if June 10th is open for ICS, does June 10th work for you guys? I'd be back on Tuesday sometime.
does not work for me. I'm missing that too.
I'm fine on the 10th. Can you make the 10th, Jen?
Sure.
Looks like
Well,
I'm
what time of
good.
the day do you meet?
We meet at 4, don't we? Or 5?
That one was scheduled.
That one was at 5.
That's how it works.
Okay.
So I'll see if it works for ICS to move.
On the
2 days.
10th. And then if it does, send a meeting notice right away.
If it ends up not working for you, I am done with work by that time, so you could.
Would you prefer to go?
No, but if you can't.
If
If you can't, I will step up. I will if it might needed.
Please, no more facilities.
Just get that
I
scheduled.
think that's it.
Okay.
So maybe we'll just try to keep the agenda fairly short for other board meetings then on the 22nd, because we'll be spending quite a bit of time on this
Levy stuff.
topic, so.
And then if we have any staffing
Right.
stuff, that would be another discussion for the next month too, so.
Do we want to just start the board meeting earlier on the 22nd, knowing that we would have that, or
That's up to the board.
we want to do like a meeting from 5:30 to 6:30 to just address this, and then once we're in the board, then we would be able to.
Like do our work session before that so that the majority of our discussion is.
That would be good.
Okay, so
If
on
you
the-
do it at 5, I can be here for that part of it. I just
Okay.
have another engagement that starts at 6:30 that I cannot miss.
Oh, well, then that would actually work out great because you could be a part of all
Because
of
at
our
least I could be
discussion.
the,
Yeah. So why don't we do like 5 to 6:15 for
Work
the
session.
work session, and then we can take a 15-minute break, and then.
Oh, that's at the board meeting.
Yeah, on the 22nd. Go 5 to 6:15 for the work session. And then 6:30, the regular board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay? Okay. You're back.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
kind of jet laggy.
Yeah, I get back a couple days before that, so I'll be okay.
That's kind of like I feel right now.
Yeah, you've only got 2 hours of sleep. You did pretty good tonight. You'll make it.
All right, anything else?
I only got 2 hours to.
I am wondering, actually, I was wondering last night, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know, Dan, maybe Lisa or, I don't know, Paul's not here. Do we have students in our district that have been affected by fires? Or are all those fires outside of our district?
they're on the edge. I don't know.
I
that we had
thought
any-
they were on the edge,
What I
but
could see, I don't know if we had any students, you guys would know.
Not that I've heard of.
I was in, but
Yeah, and there's no
Riverside.
homes were impacted fully. All the residents were back in their houses.
good.
As of last night, I can vouch for that.
I was at the elementary bus
Thank you,
drop-off.
Brian.
Yeah, bus drop-off this morning. It was a conversation, pretty much every kid getting off the bus, so. But I didn't hear of any students that were directly impacted.
Good.
We did have 2 high school students that were in a pretty severe car accident.
I've heard about that.
And they are both doing well, so we're very thankful for them.
There's one of them that was like,
Oh, yeah. One of them was life flighted out.
yeah. Oh, oh, good, good, that's good news.
The one other person walked away, but the 2 kids both got full.
All right.
Okay, anything else?
Wesley.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Jen, second by Dawn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, so my daughter at 7 started calling and
Thank you.